Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. I hope you had a really nice long weekend to celebrate the 4th of July. We certainly do have a lot to celebrate. We still have a lot of freedoms in this country that are worth preserving, and we're working hard to do that. More on that later, or tomorrow, rather. Wednesdays and Fridays are days when we talk about those kinds of things. So anyway, before I get into today's topic, remember, it's July, and July 16th and 17th is my upcoming All About Cancer boot camp, Friday night, Saturday afternoon. You'll learn about the real causes of cancer, the strategies that most cancer patients use to survive, how to evaluate both conventional and alternative treatments. Most cancer survivors use both in order to overcome cancer, and then the role of diet and lifestyle change in surviving and thriving. Tuition for members is $69, tuition for non-members is $99. And while we're on the subject of membership, I get a lot of questions from people via email every day. I try to answer all that I can. The questions are all good, and I'd love to answer all of them, but many of them require just much more than I can type out for you, or there are articles in our library that you could access if you were a member to find out the answers to. I do 2 question and answer series, sessions, I should say, per month that are just open Q&A via teleconference. And you can even submit questions in advance if you can't join the live calls, and I'll answer them, and then you can listen to the recording, which, by the way, we'll record the cancer workshop. So if you're not able to join us live for that, you can listen to the recording. We try to do that with all of our live programming here. So if you do want to ask me those questions that require answers that are longer than I can type, please become a member, and then we can have this kind of conversation. I can talk a lot better than I can type, and there's only so much typing I can do with thousands of emails coming in every day. All right, so today's topic is intermittent fasting, or time-restricted eating. And you might wonder what this has to do with all of the things that we're going through right now, and I will make that connection at the end, but it's important that I tell you these kinds of things, all right? And so let me just talk about this, and then I'll tell you how it's connected to our current situation at the end. Intermittent fasting, or time-restricted eating, is the latest restriction or rule that some health advisors say has to be part of a plan for health improvement and maintenance. At a conference last year in February of 2020, I was part of a panel discussion with some other diet and health gurus. And during this time, the topic was brought up several times as a must for health promotion. And at the end of the panel discussion, the moderator asked each of us to name the number one thing that we thought was important for people to do if they wanted to enjoy optimal health. And one of these things, one of the participants in the panel said the number one thing was intermittent fasting. If you wanted to be a healthy person, and this person had to pick one thing, that would be it. Now, I want to, in case you're not familiar with the term, intermittent fasting means that a person eats meals during a short period of time and then has a long period of time during which there's no eating. So an example, and the one that's recommended by a lot of people who think that this is a good idea, is you eat between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. and then you have 16 hours of no eating. Only water can be consumed. Now, I've written about the practice before. Articles about it are posted in our library. And as I've been covering this, I've never found any evidence that seems to support this as a must include in your plan or you can't be healthy type of thing. I think that we can't ignore the fact that there's an inconvenience with this. I mean, if you're hungry during the 16-hour fasting period, you don't eat, right? So we can all endure hunger when our planes are late or you get tied up in a meeting. I mean, hunger is not an emergency, but being hungry on a regular basis and not being able to do something about it is a little bit of a different experience to deal with, or issue to deal with. And then if you're a real high burner like I am, you're likely to spend a lot of time hungry, but you're also likely to have to pack in an awful lot of eating in that 8-hour window. I myself have to burn about 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day with the yoga and the running and the weightlifting and the incessant work days and all that sort of thing. And that's a lot of calories to pack into 2 to 3 meals. In fact, many people who have come here who are intermittent fasting, I've never met anybody that, I shouldn't say never met anybody, I've met a couple of people who just like it. But most people don't like it. And one of the biggest complaints is, quote, I feel like I'm stuffing myself when I eat because I'm not going to be able to eat after 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something of that nature. An obvious other issue is your social life. I mean, most weddings and bar mitzvahs and birthday parties are not between 8 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. And food has always been a type of is a form of celebration or involved with all of our celebrations and life. And so there are a couple of things I'll say about this. I think that we have to be more conscious of helping people adopt habits that they're likely to stick with. I also think that we have to resist this idea of thinking that food is just calories and nutrients on a plate, and if you attach any other importance to it, that there's something wrong with you. Food is celebrated all over the world, and in the places where people live the longest, they enjoy eating. It's part of how they celebrate life, daily and for special occasions. So this brings me back to evidence. Is there evidence to support this practice? Because if there is, then I would consider doing it. And I would also consider putting it in front of people as an option, and then they could decide if it was worth it. So I mentioned I've already published articles or posted them in our library. I thought the evidence was scant. So I was interested when I just came across a Medscape article that covered this and looked at the evidence. So here are some highlights. I'm not going to read the whole article to you, but I'll just give you some highlights. So the conclusion was we need more research, and I think you'll see why. There are to date about 36 studies that have looked at intermittent fasting in humans. They're mostly small, pilot or single-arm studies, and the follow-up time is an average of 3 months. Only 3 randomized controlled trials with 25 or more subjects in each group have taken place. Now, I want to say something about the 3 months first, all right? If you take a look at studies on diet change, weight loss programs, et cetera, everything looks good at 3 months. The results of the keto diet, the paleo diet, you pick any crazy diet out there, and it looks great at 3 months. And the reason is because that's before some of the consequences of the diet, for example, the keto diet or the paleo diet, start to set in, which takes a long time. And also, people are pretty compliant early on in these types of dietary change. It's the long-term compliance that turns out to be a problem. So that's an issue, the short time of follow-up. 2 of the studies discussed in the Medscape article show that the practice causes loss of lean muscle mass, a side effect that I can't believe anybody thinks is a good idea. A systematic review of 23 trials of intermittent fasting showed that participants lost an average of 3% of their body weight. So for a 250-pound person who needs to lose weight, this would be a 7.5-pound weight loss over a 3-month period of time, which means less than 1 pound a week. Well, you can expect to have better results than that by just converting to a low-fat, high-fiber, more calorie-dilute plant-based diet where you can just eat when you want to and eat what you want to. I mean, it's really hard on the type of diet that I live on to overeat from a calorie standpoint. You'd explode, right? Another analysis of 19 trials showed a difference of only 1.9 pounds greater weight loss as compared to people eating a regular diet. It wasn't even any kind of intervention program. It was the cheeseburgers and French fries versus intermittent fasting. The 12-week treat trial was published in October of last year. And this study involved 8-hour restricted eating from noon to 8 as compared to a control group that ate 3 regular meals per day. There was no difference at all in terms of weight loss. Now, many of these studies have looked at cardiometabolic endpoints, and they've shown a slight advantage, but the results are similar to the comparison with weight loss. It's just not significant enough, in my opinion, to warrant even offering this to people. When our members ask about intermittent fasting, I refer them to the articles in our library, and this is generally the end of the discussion. The reason is our members are skilled at understanding the difference between something that is statistically significant versus something that makes a meaningful difference in their health outcomes. And they focus on things that make a meaningful difference. They also understand the importance of permanent change because a less than perfect plan of diet and exercise and that sort of thing practiced over a very long period of time is significantly better than perfection that's practiced intermittently, interestingly enough, and stopping and starting and that sort of thing. So they understand that. The addition of this information here to our library probably isn't going to cause anybody to jump off the cliff and want to do it. So why am I telling you this? We are experiencing what we have experienced in the last, it's coming on 1.5 years soon of this kind of thing. that we've been going through is a situation in which people ask all the time, what has happened to the healthcare professions that they're behaving this way and believing these things? And well, this kind of behaving this way and believing things that are ridiculous didn't start with this episode that we're going through. It's been going on in medicine for a long time. And some of the quote unquote enlightened, plant-based, whatever you want to call them, doctors are promoting this kind of nonsense. And it is nonsense. Telling somebody to eat 8 hours a day and fast 16 hours a day is a big change. It's not likely to be sustainable. And in the final analysis, it just doesn't make all that much difference, right? So for somebody to state publicly, the number one thing you need to do if you want to be healthy is intermittent fasting, it just goes to show you the disconnect between what evidence shows and what people are recommending. And it covers all spectrums in the healthcare profession. It's the conventional doctors, it's the alternative doctors, it's the naturopaths, it's the, name a branch of healthcare, and you end up with exactly the same thing. And so we have to do something about all of it. In other words, it isn't just a matter of making this current thing go away. We have to build a healthcare system where the expectation is that people get I think written information is the important thing. Whether you're changing your diet or you're agreeing to take a medication or get surgery for a procedure or a screening test, you should get written information prior to, so that you can evaluate and make a choice. My gosh, you have to do that in the mortgage business and in the retirement account business. In every other part of our life that matters, we expect that we will receive factual information, and that will be the basis for making our choice, except for in healthcare. And in healthcare, it's okay to just make stuff up, exaggerate things, overstate the benefits of most things actually, and mislead people. It's misleading to tell people that you have to do this in order to be healthy. So this is similar to the information I put out last week about hypothyroidism. 92% of the people taking thyroid medicine in this country, it has been erroneously prescribed. So medicine was heading in a not so great direction a long time before this happened. This did not happen overnight, and this isn't the first rodeo. And we have to fix it all. So I hope that you're on board for joining me to fix it. We have to fix this episode, and then we have to fix all the rest of the mess that came before it. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. And tomorrow I'll be back to you with some more news of a little different type. So make sure you're on the subscriber list for my newsletters. Make sure you're on the subscriber list for my videos that go out Tuesday through Friday. And if you're not, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Have a great day.